Hi Dream Team, hashtag Dream Team. Welcome to Theme 6. So in this video we're going to look at Theme 6 example answers for the sample assessment material that you've taken with you over half term. Okay, so on to Theme 6, economic development. We've got a highlighter in hand, cool theme 6 economic development. Study diagram 2.1 below. Diagram 2.1 shows patterns of world trade. Okay. Use diagram 2.1 to complete the following paragraph. Okay, so use the diagram to complete the paragraph. It's 3 marks, there's 3 gaps, so that's where I'm getting my 3 marks for. If we have a look, world trade, okay, we know high income countries, they export, they sell high value goods, manufactured goods, high value goods. The low income countries have no choice but to buy those. They can't make them for themselves a lot of the time. So they import those high value goods. That means they're spending a lot of money. The low income countries, they don't have the factories or the machinery on the whole to manufacture goods, so they export or sell low value goods, primary goods, cocoa beans, bananas. Now they sell low value goods. The high income countries buy those low value goods. That means the high income countries are selling for lots of money and buying for little money. Their amount of money is going up and up and up. But the low income countries are buying high value goods, they're spending a lot of money, and they are only making a little bit of money. So their debt is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So let's have a look then. World trade is the export and something of products and services between countries. Okay, world trade is the export and import of products and services between different countries. High income countries tend to sell manufactured products, which are higher or greater in value than those sold by low income countries. Okay, so hopefully nice and simple. If you look at the diagram, it will give you the clues for that. Right. Name one low-income country that depends on the export of primary products. Give the name of one of those products. So it's 2 marks. You get a mark for the name of the country, mark of the name of the product. Now there is a whole variety of things that you could do here. There's a whole number of countries. Just the one that springs to mind for me, I'm going to put Ghana and cocoa beans. Okay, but you could actually write anything. So Ghana and cocoa beans. You could write a number of LICs. You can see in the mark scheme that I have emailed to you all. Right. Next page. Diagram 2.3 shows where the money goes from the sale of a sack of fair trade coffee, shown in percentages. Okay. Suggest one other way of representing the data shown in diagram 2.3. The important thing here is to justify your choice. You have to justify your choice for 3 marks. You have to say why you have chosen it. Now, you could say bar chart. For me personally, because it shows percentages, I'm going to go with a pie chart. Now, obviously, you would write a way of representing is a pie chart. This is because it is suitable for percentages. You could also say it's visually effective. Obviously, you're going to write these in sentences. So visually effective. Now, I can probably get 3 marks for that. But as we know, I'm going to write an emergency mark to secure the points. I'm going to write an emergency mark. So I'm going to write it's quick to interpret. It's quick to read from. as my emergency mark. Okay. Now down the bottom here, nice simple one as well. What is fair trade for 2 marks? So you've just got to describe fair trade with enough to get 2 marks. I'm going to write 2 points and an emergency point as always. So fair trade, well, it's an organisation for a start. There's a mark. It aims to guarantee, again you would write these in sentences, producers or growers get a fair price for their goods. Now that would actually be 3 marks if there was a possibility of getting 3 marks, so I've secured all the marks. Just make sure you write it in sentences. Right, next then, outline 2 advantages of fair trade for coffee growers. This is a classic example here of a question. It's an outline question, 2 points, but you've got 4 marks for it. Okay, so my first point that I'm going to make is an advantage is they get a higher amount of reliable income. Without fair trade, they might not know where their next paycheck's coming from. But fair trade means it's reliable income. They know where it's coming from, month by month or week by week. Now that, in turn, leads to more opportunities. They have more money to spend. They can buy food, water if they need to, but also they can perhaps put a child through education if they can rely on an income. That income can perhaps pay the rent for a house. Okay? My next point then would be better working conditions. Fair trade money ensures that there is better working conditions. That is going to lead to better health. If you've got better working conditions, you're going to have better health care, better health in general, and that is actually then going to lead to longer life expectancy. Okay, again, you would do it in sentences. Okay, right, double page spread. Says, study the information below. It shows 2 screenshots from a GIS website which is about poverty. Map 2.4 shows the percentage of people living on $1.25 a day in Africa. Okay, so you've got your key here with your shades. So the percentage of people living on less than $1.25 a day in Africa. The second graph then, you've got millions of poor as your bars. You can see that the millions of poor is going up and up and up until eventually you get to a little plateau, though it is still increasing a little bit. And then the red line is the percentage of people living on less than $1.25 a day. So although the millions of poor is increasing and then is very high, actually the amount on less than $1.25 a day is decreasing here. So use map 2.4 initially, so we're on source 2.4 initially, to give the percentage of people living on $1.25 a day in South Africa for 1 mark. Nice simple question. They have even labelled South Africa for you. So South Africa is this light pink shade, so 0 to 20. 0 to 20. Okay? This time we've got a different source. Use graph 2.5 to describe the trend in poverty headcount ratio for 2 marks. Okay, so you are only looking at the red line. You're only looking at the red line. You're using this source. You're actually ignoring the blue bars. You're only looking at the red line because it asks for poverty headcount ratio. So in terms of trend then, it generally is decreasing from what? Let's say 1999 to 2011. 1999 to 2011, obviously you would write this in sentences. It is actually improving, which means the percentage has decreased from what, 60% in, I'm actually going to change that to 1993, sorry, 1993. 60% in 1993 to, what is it, like 40, what's that, 48%, maybe 47% in 2011, okay? You could also say that it's at its highest in 1993, is in its lowest 2011, but that is going on a little tangent because it asks you for the trend. Okay, that's the important bit there, the trend. Okay, so moving on then. Map 2.4, we're on now, shows the data in different colours. What is the name of this type of map? Okay, now from all the times that we've looked at these in class, you should know that a map like this with the different colours is a choropleth map. Okay, so in this space here, it's a choropleth map. There we go. Now, suggest one limitation of the technique used for 2 marks. There's a number of different problems you could use, which you can see on the mark scheme. It doesn't have the exact data for each country. It also makes the suggestion that, say this red one here is 60 to 80 and this one, yellow one's here, is 20 to 40. So what, you literally walk up to there and there's a direct change in the number of poverty between this line. No, that's a generalisation. The same as it's a generalisation that everybody within this area is there's 20 to 40%. It's too general. What about the different areas within each area? Myself, my one limitation is going to be that the data is grouped. And that means that the exact data isn't shown for each area. There's my 2 marks, but for example, all of South Africa is 0 to 20. Well, what is the actual percentage for South Africa? Okay, so we move on to our last question for theme 6. Our last question for theme 6. Oops. Now, there is poverty in many parts of Wales. Explain why. There are areas of poverty in different parts of Wales. You should refer to places you've studied for 8 marks. The accuracy of your writing will be assessed for 3 marks. That means if you write with full stops, punctuation, grammar, paragraphs if necessary, and you include key terms in the correct locations, you're going to get these 3 marks for the quality of your writing. Now, this is an essay, but it says explain. It doesn't say examine, assess, or to what extent you agree. So you know you are not weighing up. You are not arguing. You are just saying why. Areas of poverty, and you have to name places. You have to give some case study examples. So hopefully in your mind, you're thinking, okay, in general, in the UK, I'm actually going to plan my essay here, and then you would write the essay, okay? So I'm going to plan the essay here. But actually, you should be thinking that, well, in South Wales, it's generally more wealthy than Mid and North Wales. Okay, is generally in more poverty. Your next thought process, you think of the map location. Okay, they have got high, in some places steep, relief. That high steep relief makes it difficult to build. There's a lack of transport. Because of those two things, there's also a lack of jobs. Oh, we could throw in spiral of decline. Very jazzy. Spiral of decline in the rural areas. We could give an example. We could talk about, if I put lack of hospitals as well, that could lead to deprivation. People's basic needs for their standard of living aren't being met. Okay, now you could give an example here. I'm going to put in Penllyn in the northeast. They're 40 kilometres away from the nearest hospital. Okay, that could be the difference between life and death. They've only got 3 medical centres. They have to pass over Snowdonia to get anywhere. Okay, so I put Penllyn as my example and talked about rural areas, their relief, their lack of everything really. I've thrown in spiral of decline and deprivation. You could also mention that they are away from major transport links such as the M4 corridor in the south. You could talk about that they're away from the only major airport in Wales. Cardiff Airport is in the south. Again, you could talk about the government and administration, jobs and MNCs are in the south, which is too far away for them to get to. Okay, so that's the bulk of your essay there, probably talking about Mid and North Wales and relief and all the rest of it. Now, you could add into this that areas are going through deindustrialisation. So you could mention areas of Cardiff such as, areas of Cardiff that are going through decline because the factories that previously used to be there are closed, which leads to degradation of the environment or decline of the environment. It leads to lack of jobs, leading to lack of money, so on and so forth. You get your spiral of decline again. Okay, now your deindustrialisation, you could talk about Cardiff. You could also talk about, if you know a valley in particular, or you could talk about a number of the valleys, but as you go through, be careful because the question asks about poverty, so be very careful not to talk about the wealthy areas to flip side it. You just focus on poverty. So to take you through this, you're talking about Mid and North Wales, their relief, difficult to build, lack of transport, jobs. There's also lack of schools. We looked at a case study example in Brecon where they're building the super schools and closing the smaller schools, which means people are going to have a longer commute to get to school. Lack of hospitals, deprivation. You talk about Penllyn as your case study. It's also away from the M4 corridor, Cardiff Airport, the government jobs, multinational companies, they're all in the south. Then you can, if you feel confident, add a second point about deindustrialisation. I just want to pause there because it's the end of theme 6. That's going to be the end of this clip. I just want to say really, really well done. If you have any questions, just ask. But I suggest you next watch the theme 7 video for the sample assessment material. Okay, well done everybody.